Well, basically, for a long time I have questioned the whole translation of the term chit as consciousness, which is a Sanskrit term that sort of refers to the ultimate reality. And I think a better word is awareness. Consciousness is more of a Western term that has, been sort of worked over by Daniel Dennett and John Searle, or two guys who worked on the topic. And their work is pretty unsatisfactory from my perspective, and I'm not going to go into that much right now. We'll be here until 2 in the morning and you're hungry. But I will say this, awareness condenses as energy, condenses as structure, energetic structure, which becomes body, mind, and senses. The body and the mind are two parts of the same complex, and the emotions, all part of the same condensation. And even our physiology is a part of mind, emotion, and our body is completely diaphanous. Our body is totally permeable. So, and everything is information. We are taking in information constantly that we are unaware of, and our body is processing that information. I mean, a very crude example is pheromones, right? We don't exactly, well, maybe some of you have a very fine-tuned sensibility and you can notice those things, but mostly we don't notice. We just take in that information and respond to it in whatever inappropriate way we choose. Because there almost can't be an appropriate way. So we take in lots and lots of information. And that information gets structured in us according to our own tensions. And our tensions are fundamentally an expression of what I call the disappointments of our ancestors, the conditioning we have experienced with our parents, and all of that tension that has been embedded in us has its own set of agendas that we dance to, that the information we take in gets structured and stimulates, and that's how we behave. Layer upon layer upon layer of tension is what undermines our ability to experience and also to understand that we are a completely permeable curtain of light. We are a rainbow, confused by our capacity to experience and imagining that there's some permanence and materiality to our existence. Of course, death disproves that notion, doesn't it? That the body is, look, we'll take a little bit slightly religious term and say everything is divine. There is nothing that isn't God. Everything is God. Everything, if you want to, all right, we'll kind of sort it out a little differently for a minute and say everything is the breath of God. The body included, and the breath in your body. The breath of life in you is the breath of God. And so I would say the body itself, our bodies are divine. This is the creative energy that has, for a flash, just for a flash, even though we don't quite experience it like a flash, In fact, we live and die in a flash, pop, faster than that. And so this body comes together for a flash. And, you know, in that condensation, we get all confused. And we emerge out of a chemical soup that is our family system, and it's gunk soup. Gunk soup. It's sludge. And so we get confused. And in the process of that confusion, we get totally externally rotated. We're totally dialed into outside us, and all of our senses, our radar is like picking up on, you know, all the things that we, imagine might be possibilities to do what we think we ought to do. We're externally rotated and totally dialed into our biological imperatives. Eating and reproducing. That's what everybody is like looking for a chance to do. But when you turn your attention inside, when you, through your practice, start to pull yourself back in, dissolve that external rotation, become centered in yourself and aware of the movement of that breath of life in you, totally changes your perspective. And then the body is no obstacle to anything. And your senses are not an obstacle to anything. In fact, these become, vehicles in the expression of the divine creative energy that you are. And there is no negative. And the more refined you become, the less affected you are by the tensions, not just your own tensions, because hopefully you've dissolved those, but the tensions of the people that you share your life with, and the tensions which represent the social structure and the culture that you exist in. What happens if you really open your heart completely, and in the process, you really open your mind completely? What happens? And all of her personal history dissolves. I mean, dissolves is too awkward a word, because ceases to exist is a better term. And, divine being becomes awakened. Because, or Swami Chetanananda, both are fascinating, but quite fictitious stories. It's been interesting for me all these years being a Swami in America, because, of course, you introduce yourself, in California once I haven't had a neighbor, I introduced myself as Swami G. I'm Swami G. That neighbor's never talked to me again ever in the last 10 years. The sky ostrich. Can't put their head in the sand, so they just look straight up whenever you're around. So, I don't care what people call me anymore, and I don't travel in the world as anything. And neither do you. When you are consulting, consult. And when you are presenting, present. But you don't have to hold any identity at all, really. Identify completely with your own creative energy. And in so doing, becoming aware of that creative energy, you'll understand that you're not this body, You're not this mind. You are so much bigger, and there is so much more possibility present inside you. And it's the weird thing is just the awareness of the possibility allows for its expression. Sometime, just have a happy thought. And if you can just breathe into that a little bit and really feel the sweetness that is available to you from within yourself for a little while, what you will find is all the stresses and tensions and issues and identities just let go. All these things that have grabbed onto you, but aren't really you, will let go. All the things you've made yourself into, the pretzels you've twisted yourself into, trying to be you, will just let go. It won't be there anymore. And you will just be fundamentally what you are. The word I use for that, fundamentally what you are, is love. You will be that. And in that case, the story turns out to have a surprisingly happy ending, doesn't it? Which is what we all hope for. Namaste, everyone. Namaste.